Hello and welcome to this video. We've been looking out for the visa bulletin for next month, but so far the bulletin has not yet been released. It is normal that some of you have been asking for the reason for this delay, which we will go into in a moment. But before we go into that, I must remind you that this is not the first time that the visa bulletin has been delayed. In recent months, the visa bulletin was delayed a few times, and it has also been delayed on many other occasions before then. But as I mentioned earlier, today I will share with you the reason for these different delays, and in case there are other delays in the future, it will almost certainly be because of this same reason. So now let's begin to see why the visa bulletin is currently delayed, which I just said is the same reason for other delays that we have experienced or are yet to experience. The delays in the release of the visa bulletin is actually found in the visa bulletin itself. So I'm going to take you over to the last visa bulletin published, and together we will discover the reason. So let's go over and consider the visa bulletin for this month. This is the visa bulletin for this month, and we are going to scroll down the page and consider the various titles we have. So follow along. First, we have statutory numbers, then family-sponsored preferences, and under that we have first, second, third, fourth. Next, we have final action dates for family-sponsored preference cases, then dates for filing family-sponsored visa applications. Next, employment-based preferences, then final action dates for employment-based preference cases. Then we have dates for filing of employment-based visa applications. And that is followed by our own section of the visa bulletin, that is the diversity immigrant category for the month of March. And then the diversity immigrant category rank cutoffs, which will apply in April, which is followed by visa availability in the employment-based second preference categories for all countries, including China and India. And that is followed by visa availability in the employment-based third preference category. Next, we have further regression in employment-based fourth category. Then retrogression of the employment-based fifth preference category final action date for India. And then annual waiting list report of immigrant visa applicants in the family-sponsored and employment-based preferences registered at the National Visa Center as of November 1st, 2022. Now, after scrolling through the visa bulletin for this month, what did you observe? If you really followed along, you would have noticed two main things. The first thing you would have noticed is that the visa bulletin does not only concern the diversity visa program. There are also contents related to the two main forms of immigration to the United States, which are the family-sponsored immigration and employment-based immigration. And if you are an applicant of another immigration program watching this video, the same applies to you. There's information related to other forms of immigration in the visa bulletin. And the second thing you would have noticed is that there's a lot of content in the visa bulletin. There are many different tables with a lot of information in them, most of which you do not understand. In the same way you use the visa bulletin to be informed concerning the diversity visa program or your immigration program, applicants of other immigration programs also need the visa bulletin to be situated on a monthly basis as it relates to their immigration program. Now, who speaks of being situated on a monthly basis speaks of updating of information. In the case of the visa bulletin, updating of a lot of information. And that task is in the hands of the visa office. But the visa office don't just go about that task anyhow. I've explained on many occasions how it happens that at the end of every month, the embassies and consulates from around the world submit their reports to the visa office concerning visa operations. And those reports are what the visa office rely on to update the contents of the last visa bulletin in order to get the new visa bulletin. All of that taking into consideration that the information to be published needs to serve its purpose. So it is not always an easy or fast task. There are months when the task may be accomplished relatively easily or in a short period, but there are other months when the task of updating the contents of the current visa bulletin in order to provide relevant information may be more challenging and take more time. As long as their task is not completed, the visa office will not release the visa bulletin. If they should release the bulletin without completing it, then it means that the parts that are not completed will not serve the applicants concerned. So to summarize, when the visa bulletin is delayed, it simply means that the visa office has not finalized updating its contents. They have not completed the work that they have to do on the visa bulletin. And as soon as they complete that task, they will go ahead and release the bulletin. So it is not a problem that causes the delays. It is just the delicateness of the work involved. But as I said, at the end of the day, the visa bulletin will be published. During all of the years that I have covered the diversity visa program, I don't know of any month, I don't remember any month during which the visa bulletin was not published. Even at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when immigration to the United States was suspended, the visa bulletin continued to be published. So what more about now when immigration to the United States is normally ongoing? Will the visa bulletin be suspended for no reason? No, that is not possible. Another thing is that, from my experience, the publication of the visa bulletin does not get to the final week of the month. Presently, we are around the latest time of the month when the visa bulletin is published. So expect it to be published this week. It could even be published today. So by the time some of you are watching this video, the visa bulletin will have already been published. So rest assured and consider this delay to be normal. And that should also apply to future delays. Unless there is a major disruption, whenever in the future the visa bulletin is delayed, just remember that that delay is normal, that it is due to the fact that the visa office has not completed finalizing, updating the contents of the bulletin, and once they complete that task, the bulletin will be published. So that is what I had to share with you, especially those of you who always ask for the reason whenever there is a delay in the release of the visa bulletin. And with that, we've come to the end of today's discussion. Thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one, God willing, when we expect to consider the new cutoff numbers. Until then, goodbye.